With the NBA season having just begun, it's time to take a look at the players who are in make or break years. Some may be playing for their next contract, while some may be fighting to stay in the league. I'm joined by Brad Klier to discuss which players have important years ahead of them this season.
All right, so my two guys, my first one's going to be Dragan Bender, former 8th overall pick on the Phoenix Suns. A guy who was always supposed to be like a raw project type. He's in year 4 now, and he hasn't developed at all. He, at this point, I hate to say it, is basically a bust. He's not going to get that big second contract no matter what. But if he has another subpar season, as he's had the last 3 years, we're in a situation where this guy is probably back playing in Israel like he was before he came to the NBA, and he's out of the NBA as a whole. And then my second guy, which I think is a little more interesting, is Taurean Prince. So Taurean Prince was a first-round pick by the Hawks a couple years ago. Last year, in the second half of the year, was an absolute monster. The best player on that team played like a true modern NBA wing. On the defense side of the ball, was scoring in bunches. Before that, he had not played to that high level. So for him, he has to play at that high level, or else the Hawks, who are basically more or less doing the process without overtly saying it, they're going to value trading him so they don't have to give him the big second contract to allow them to be flexible moving forward. If he plays like he did in the second half of last year, then he's more likely to get that second contract. So I think it's a big year for him, for the second contract, and for Bender to stay in the league as a whole.
And with the Phoenix Suns, a lot of people are actually surprised that they didn't cut Bender earlier. So what do you think about that in terms of them cutting those two players that they just cut, but leaving Bender on the team? Do you think it's the right call?
Well, I look at the two guys they cut. Shaquille Harrison, I mean, they had Elie Okobo and D'Anthony Melton, so I don't think it was worth keeping him. They signed Jamal Crawford, which I don't understand. Really, I don't think keeping anyone that they cut was worth keeping over Bender. You know, if Bender has a year like he's had, then, you know, he's done after this year, you cut your losses. But if he finally takes a leap and looks like an NBA player, then you can get him on a cheap contract afterwards, and maybe he develops slowly over time. So who are your two players?
So for my two players, my first one is Andrew Wiggins. And I really like Andrew Wiggins, but to me, this is a make or break year for him in terms of will he be able to be a star in this league that can lead a team? That's the bottom line. And he has all of the potential. He came into the league with all of the projections. You know, people were saying he can be an elite two-way player like DeMar DeRozan, like Kawhi Leonard. And he's shown that all he can be right now is one-dimensional. I'm really looking to see if Andrew Wiggins, especially with this stuff going on with Jimmy Butler, can really start to kind of evolve into more of a multi-dimensional player, or if he's just going to keep throwing up empty shots and just keep throwing up points that don't matter.
Exactly, yeah.
But then my other player is Jabari Parker.
Ooh, that's a good one.
And I really like Jabari Parker, but he has to stay on the court. And to me, that's extremely, extremely important. Earlier in high school, he was getting comparisons to Derrick Rose for his explosiveness. Now he's getting comparisons to Derrick Rose for not the right reasons in terms of his 2 ACL injuries. He's had 2 tears in the past 3 years. I mean, he's missed 145 games. I think it's going to be a really important year, especially with Chicago having a 2-year, $40 million contract with him, and they have the option to cut him after this year. So if he's not on the court, he's not on the team.
So then going with that, you have Wiggins on that 5-year deal for 140, Parker 1 year for 20 with the option for the second year. Do you think there's any way either guy can live up to those deals?
I think with Wiggins, definitely not. I think with Wiggins, he is one of the most overpaid but undeserving players.
100%.
I think look at what he could be, and it's just so disappointing, especially when you hear people complain about his lackadaisical work ethic, how he doesn't practice as hard as some of the others, how he plays defense.
Jimmy Butler was just talking about how Wiggins has all the God-given ability, and he just doesn't produce, or he doesn't care enough, whichever it is.
I mean, and he does. I agree with that. I mean, he's 6'8", 200 pounds with a 7-foot wingspan, 44-inch vertical. Yet, he averages like 2.5 rebounds a game.
And he was supposed to be a very plus defender coming out of college. We haven't seen that. We haven't seen him be able to be a consistent three-point scorer to allow him to effectively get to the rim. So he's been a huge disappointment as a whole. And then with Parker, you know, the big contract, does he fit as a whole with the Bulls? First off, you know, I just asked, do you think he fits with them long term? Do you think that contract is ever going to be lived up to, or what do you think on that?
I think he can fit, but he just has to be on the court.
100%.
All right, that is all the time we have for this episode of 101 Sports Webcast. Huge shout out to all of our crew, producers, and talent. Make sure to follow us on social media and watch us on YouTube, all at 101 Sports. That's all from all of us here. So until next time, whose side are you on?